Everyone, this is Solomonic Demons, and today we're gonna be talking about Gibson Les Paul Studios. This is not a review of this guitar in particular. This is more me just talking about Gibson Les Paul Studios in general. We're gonna be comparing the Gibson Les Paul Studio line with the less expensive line, that is the Gibson Les Paul Tribute, and we're also going to be comparing the studio line with the more expensive lines, that the ones that go over $2,000, like the traditional, classic and standard. We're not going to be comparing the studio with the custom shops, because those guitars are really expensive and are another level of craftsmanship, if I can call it that way. I'm not saying that studios are bad. These actually are really good guitars. They are professional guitars. You can see very famous guitar players playing these guitars, not just in the studio. You can see them playing in stadiums, arenas, coliseums, whatever. You can see a lot of famous guitar players playing these guitars over the world, in very big places, in front of thousands of people. So yes, let's talk first about the history of the Les Paul Studios.
Okay, so let's start with the history of the Gibson Les Paul first. And in 1983, Gibson introduced the studio model, responding to a gap in their model lineup for a lower price at Les Paul. The studio was designed to attract guitar players who desired traditional Les Paul sound without having to pay for cosmetic features. This includes body binding, neck binding, and headstock inlays were not available in these models. Additionally, the body was a little bit thinner, comparing with the standard Les Paul, and the initial run was made from alder from 1983 to 1985. Then Gibson moved to maple top and mahogany body combination after the alder body proved prone to lacquer problems. The name Studio came from the idea that this model will be sonically indistinguishable from Les Paul standards or custom in the recording studio, and that the flasher guitars will be reserved for stage use. Like I said before, we have a bunch of studio models and variations, like the Studio Standard that was produced from 1983 to 1987. We have the Studio Custom that was made from 1983 to 1985. We have the Vintage Mahogany Faded, the Studio Lead that was made in the mid-1990s, the Gem series, the Smartwood series, the Smartwood Exotic series. We have the Studio Swamp Edge, the Gothic, the Voodoo, Pro Plus, Premium Plus, Roboted Limited, and the current line that is the Modern series. And that's just a few of all the variations that this series of Gibson Les Pauls have.
Alright, so my conclusion about the Gibson Les Paul Studios. Like I said, this line of guitars have been in production for almost 40 years, and we cannot just focus in the current version of the Gibson Les Paul Studios. We have a lot of revisions, a lot of models, a lot of versions of Gibson Les Paul Studios. And that's what actually happened to me last year when I went to get a new Gibson Les Paul. I wasn't sure about getting the Studio or the Tribute, so I went to the store, I tried the 2021 version of the Tribute, the 2021 version of the Studio, and I honestly didn't like the way the finishes of the Studio look. I didn't like the way the pickup sounded on that guitar, but I love the way that the satin iced tea finish looks on the Tribute, and I also got in love of how the pickups of the Tribute sound, and I didn't mind at all about the 50s neck profile, and I also prefer how the Gibson Deluxe tuners look, so that's why I decided to buy the Gibson Les Paul Tribute last year. But a couple of months ago I went to a guitar center and I saw this guitar used. Now this is a 2018 version of the Gibson Les Paul Studio, and this one comes with biting. I upgrade the pickups to Seymour Duncan JB on the bridge, and we have a Seymour Duncan slash on the neck. The poker chip and the pickups were black, but I think that white looked better with the neck biting. And I also changed the tuners, and I love the finish of the color on this guitar. Yeah, like I said, we cannot focus in just one year, one model, because you might don't like the current version, but you might get in love of an older version of the Gibson Les Paul Studio. So yeah, this was a little bit of the history of the Gibson Les Paul Studio, my experience with it, and I really hope you guys like, share and subscribe to this channel. See you guys next time.